How's everybody doing, folks? My name is Jonathan Slater.
And I'm Gabriel Cook. Thanks for joining us for another episode of BayView Views.
Let's start with something that we see all the time and honestly surprises a lot of people. Most wealth plans don't fail while you're building wealth. They fail at the exact moment they're supposed to work. People spend decades saving, investing, and doing all the right things. But when it's time to actually pass that wealth on, things either fall short or just aren't fully thought through. And a big reason for that is pretty simple. It's education. Wealth is built over a long period of time, yet it is transferred in a single moment. And if that moment isn't prepared for, it can create confusion, stress, even conflict within families. We've seen situations where on paper everything looked great, but no one really understood what they were inheriting or why things were set up the way they were. And that's where things start to break down. Because wealth isn't just about what you build, it's about what you leave behind in terms of clarity, values, and direction. Otherwise, what you're leaving your family is not a plan, it's a puzzle, right?
Right. And that the kind you want to spend a weekend figuring out. There's actually a stat that gets talked about a lot in our industry. About 70% of family wealth is lost by the second generation and 90% by the third. And when people hear that, they usually assume it's because of bad investments. That is where they're wrong. Most of the time, it comes down to something as simple as a lack of preparation, a lack of communication, or a lack of understanding. If someone suddenly inherits wealth and doesn't really know how it works, it can feel overwhelming. And when that happens, people tend to go one of two directions. They either avoid making decisions altogether, or they make quick decisions without fully thinking them through. Neither one tends to end well. But we've seen the other side of this. And it looks completely different. When the next generation is brought into the conversation early, when they start learning about things like investing, risk, and long-term thinking, everything changes. They're more confident, they ask better questions, they understand what they have and why. And that's a big shift, because now instead of just receiving wealth, they're prepared to manage it and grow it. And that doesn't happen by accident, it comes from education. When you teach someone how to think about money, not just what to do with it, you're setting them up for something much bigger than a one-time transfer. You're setting them up to carry that legacy forward.
So at BayView, we take a different approach. We don't wait until wealth is about to be transferred. We start much earlier. We work with families across generations. I mean, gosh, we probably had a fourth generation client in the office the other day, which was really cool. That means bringing their children and grandchildren into the conversation sooner than most would expect. This might include a discussion of how the family trust works, who the key decision makers are after the death of the owner. And for those who are charitably inclined, we can facilitate conversations around passing down a legacy of giving through tax-advantaged vehicles like donor-advised funds or family foundations. The key is to empower beneficiaries to build confidence early and learn how to ask the right questions. Once they understand the why behind everything and not just the numbers on a page, they start to lean in and take a more intentional approach to securing their future.
And alongside that, we're also helping families get the technical side right. Things like estate planning, documentation, and overall organization, because let's be honest, this is the part people tend to put off. There are a lot of documents, a lot of terms people aren't familiar with, and usually a lot of, we'll get to it later. We hear that all the time, but the reality is the longer you wait, the more complicated things can become. So part of what we do is simplify that process for you. We use tools like wealth.com to help families create and organize their estate plans in a way that's clear and easy to maintain over time. So instead of everything living in a binder somewhere under your bed, it's structured, accessible, and up to date. And most importantly, everyone knows what's going on.
That's right. When you zoom out, successful wealth transfer often involves thoughtful planning, including structure, communication, and coordination with the right professionals. While outcomes can vary, these elements can help support long-term continuity of wealth across generations and help keep it aligned with what the family cares about. And that's what turns a one-time event into a long-term legacy. At the end of the day, that's really the goal, to make sure that what you've built becomes something that supports your family, not something that they have to figure out on their own. That's how we approach planning at BayView. So hey guys, if this resonated with you and you're thinking more intentionally about your legacy, we invite you to pick up the phone and give us a call. We are here to help you plan for a legacy designed to support your future generations. Hey guys, thanks for watching another episode of BayView Views.
Have a great week.